For this video, we are going to review graphing linear equations in the form y equal to mx plus b. So linear just means straight line. And we are looking at y equals mx plus b. This is called slope-intercept form. We are going to use the slope, which is m, and our b value, which is the y-intercept, and those two will help us graph our line. It's faster to use the slope and the y-intercept rather than just choosing points. You want to notice that the equation for the first example is in slope-intercept form. It's in the correct form, so we can easily identify the y-intercept, which is -1, and the slope, which is 1/2. Some of the equations will not be in this form, and so we will have to solve for y and rewrite the equation in the correct form, and then we can identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then we can graph. Let's start with the first example. We want to graph, and then we also want to label 3 ordered pairs or 3 points. So the first thing that we're going to do is identify our y-intercept. That's -1. The y-intercept is always graphed on the y-axis, and we always graph the y-intercept first. That is your first step. Y-intercept is -1, and here is our ordered pair. Our point goes right here. That is the first point for our graph. To get 2 more points, we just use our slope. Slope is 1/2. It's positive. Remember that slope means rise over run. The top number tells you how many units to go up or down, and the bottom number tells you how far to go to the right or to the left. Since this is positive, that means we have to go 1 up because up is positive direction, and 2 to the right because 2 is in the positive direction. If your slope is negative, then you would go 1 down because that's in the negative direction. But since it's positive, we started our y-intercept 1 unit up and then 2 to the right. So we have our second point. And then we're going to do this again, go 1 unit up and 2 to the right. If you want points at the bottom down here, then you would have to do the opposite steps. The opposite of up 1 and 2 to the right would be down 1 and 2 to the left. So you can do that as well. Once you have 3 points, then we just connect our graph and we have our straight line. It's a good idea to label the ordered pairs, at least 3 of them, so that way you have them next to the graph. So we start with the y-intercept. The ordered pair is 0, -1. Our next point, we have 2, 0, and then this last point is going to be 4, 1. So at least we have 3 points labeled and we followed our directions. Let's look at the second example. So for this example, we notice that the equation that's given is not in slope-intercept form. It's not in y equals mx plus b form. Needs to look like this. And so in order to put it in the correct form, all we have to do is solve for y, and then we can graph. To solve for y, subtract 3x from both sides. So now our equation is in the correct form. We're going to focus on this equation when we graph. Let's identify the y-intercept. That's going to be 2. So that's going to go on the y-axis. That's the first step. Slope is -3. You can also write -3 over 1 to remind you that you do have to go 1 unit to the right. This is an example where we have a negative slope. So since 3 is negative, we are going to go down from the y-intercept. So we don't go up because it's not +3, it's -3. So down, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 to the right. You're moving 1 to the right because 1 is positive. And then we need one more step or one more point, so we just continue from where we left off, down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 1 to the right. So we have our 3 points. We're going to connect these and write the ordered pair next to them. So this point is 0, 2. This one is going to be 1, -1. And then finally we have 2, -4. And that would be our second graph. Let's take a look at the third graph. So this one, we have an equation that is not in the correct form. We have to solve for y again, just like the previous example. Solve for y. To solve for y, the first step is to subtract 2x from both sides. The last step is we have to divide 3 on both sides. So that means every single term needs to be divided by 3. If you can reduce, go ahead and do so. It makes it easier. So we divide all 3 of these by 3. We have y equals -2 over 3x plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. And so I reduced it to get 2. This is our equation that we want to focus on. And so this one, we have a y-intercept of 2, so that goes first. Slope is -2 over 3. Since we have -2 here, we're going to go down 2, so 1, 2, and then 3 to the right. 1, 2, and 3. So that's our second point. And then we just do the same thing again from where you left off. Down 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to go 3 to the left. 1, 2, and 3. And that gives us 3 points. You can always get more points if you want, but 3 is good enough. As long as all 3 points line up, then your graph should be correct. If you happen to see that your points do not line up, then that means there's a mistake. The last thing I want to do is just label the ordered pairs I have. So that's 0, 2. That's going to be 3, 0. And this one is going to be 6, -2. And so we have our 3 points and we have our graph.